All right, guys, I'm just going to go through kind of rapid fire edition, maybe the top 100 prospects on this 2022 consensus big board, which is a kind of a composite big board that's compiled using 55 different experts big boards. So it's like what the overall average is. So this is like the best big board to use, and I'm just going to give you guys some prospects that I think are really overrated. We might just go through the top 100 guys, and then in another video, I'll do some of the most underrated prospects, but it is under a month before the draft. It is April, so we're getting really close down to it. I'm just going to go through prospects and tell you guys, who sticks out to me as very overrated, basically. So Aidan Hutchinson, number 1. Can't argue it. Aquanu, number 2. Evan Neal, Kyle Hamilton, Ahmad Gardner. Love it. Love seeing Ahmad Gardner listed as the number 1 cornerback. I think that's pretty much consensus at this point. The first guy I think is really overrated. It's going to be Treylon Walker, the edge rusher / DT from Georgia. And normally this happens a few times each year, where there's just this disconnect between me and the experts on a few different players. Like with Walker, I would not have him inside my top 50. And when you go back to the end of the national championship game, the last time any of these prospects ever played a down of college football, of any competitive football, Walker was probably a borderline top 50 guy, but since then, they've all fallen in love with him. I understand he's athletic, he moves really well. I'm just not seeing it with him. I think he's going to be a complete bust. I think if a team drafts him inside of the top 10, it is a major mistake. You take a look at his projection right here, second overall for Treylon Walker. I think that is just ridiculous. And again, that's just one of those prospects me and the experts don't align. I don't see it. I do not see it. When you look back, where was this dude ranked at the end of the season? The last time he's played, he was ranked outside the top 50. They moved him this high because they fell in love with him. I don't see it. Another guy I think is overrated is Charles Cross. I think he's going to be a bust. Personally, Charles Cross, I'm not seeing it. I like Trevor Penning over Charles Cross at the offensive tackle position. Garrett Wilson, love him. Stingley Jr., that's fine. Jermaine Johnson, don't see it. I do not see how Jermaine Johnson is the number 11 overall prospect. He's more of an effort player. I could see him maybe mid to late second round type, but he is a small edge rusher who is really going to struggle getting off blocks. Don't understand it. Drake London, I love him. He's my number 2 receiver. Malik Willis, there's a lot of hype from him. Jordan Davis coming in at number 14 on the big board. Little bit high for me. Little bit high. Jamison Williams, can't hate it. I mean, the injury scares you a little bit, but you can't hate it. George Karlaftis, I would have him higher, but this is the most overrated video, not underrated. Olave, love him. Devin Lloyd, fine. Trevor Penning at 19, that's great. Kenny Pickett, this is a major issue. Guys, Kenny Pickett, to me, when I watch him, he doesn't do one single thing elite when it comes to being a potential pro quarterback. And a lot of people don't remember Kenny Pickett. This is a 4-year quarterback, 4-year starter. His first 3 years were extremely average. And this past year, he had a very nice year. But I recently watched his game against Clemson, and I just saw absolutely nothing that told me Kenny Pickett could be a franchise quarterback. And as you guys can see, he's currently projected, according to most mock drafts, to be the number 6 overall pick by Carolina. I think they're going to be very disappointed with Kenny Pickett if they draft him number 6 overall. Very disappointed. Tyler Linderbaugh, 21. I understand it. Trent McDuffie, I'm not loving him being ranked that high. I would put him probably like mid-30s. So it's not completely overrated, but he's a little bit small. I believe he's 5'11". I believe that's what he measured in. Treylon Burks, that's another one. Treylon Burks should not sniff the first round. To me, Treylon Burks is Corey Davis 2.0. I'm actually smaller than Corey Davis, so even worse. You take a look at his testing numbers at the combine, it's nothing impressive. This is a low-end wide receiver 2 in the NFL, Burks is. And we'll see if any team, it looks like Green Bay with one of their first-round picks. I would love for Green Bay to trade for DK Metcalf. Use one of those first-round picks to facilitate a trade for DK Metcalf. But Treylon Burks there. Andrew Booth Jr., I don't love Andrew Booth, but 24 is a little high, but I don't love him. Nakobe Dean, this isn't an underrated video, but Nakobe Dean is so much better than 25th. Devontae Wyatt's a stud. Zion Johnson, I like a lot. Green, the interior guard, maybe a little bit high. Ajabo, I'm not touching Ajabo. And it's really nothing against the kid. It's just the injury. Like, I'm not going to invest a first-round pick into a kid that is injured. And it's nothing, he's a decent player. He got some good pressures. There have been some people that really think Ajabo is overrated because he lined up opposite Aidan Hutchinson. But it's not that I hate Ajabo. It's just I don't draft kids that are injured that high, like in the first round where he's being mocked. Elam, 30th, that's fine. Jihad Dotson, he's really frail. 31, okay. I would not draft him in the first round. Daxton Hill, that's fine. Desmond Ridder. The thing with Desmond Ridder, guys, I think he has an extremely low ceiling. So maybe a high floor, but a very low ceiling. I don't see there's any chance Desmond Ridder becomes a star franchise quarterback in the NFL. I just don't see it. His ceiling to me is Carson Wentz. Now you can say Carson Wentz won an MVP. I'm more talking, or almost won an MVP. I'm more talking about post-injury Carson Wentz. That's what I think Desmond Ridder's ceiling is. That's who I have him comped to in terms of play style. So him being 33rd, yeah, him being mocked in the first round is a bit concerning. I don't see it. He could be a decent quarterback, but if you want a franchise quarterback, I don't love it. I think Matt Corral is really underrated. I'm just going to kind of go through some of these guys. Kenneth Walker at number 37, a little bit high for me. Actually, the only issue I have is Breece Hall below Kenneth Walker, and they're very close. And I think by the time you look at these big boards and it updates, by the time we hit draft night, you're going to see Breece Hall. Maybe it's a top 30 player. The hype around Breece Hall is unbelievable. My NFL count for Breece Hall is Nick Chubb. I love Breece Hall as a top 30 player, and I would love to see a team like the Bills draft him. Other guys, Logan Hall would be underrated. Kyler Gordon, probably properly rated. Another guy I'm not seeing it, Sky Moore. I'm not seeing it. Too small. He's just too small. I know he was the number 1 overall player according to PFF, but I'm not seeing it. Christian Watson, the overall slot at number 49 isn't terrible, but I have seen a lot of recent mock drafts that have had Christian Watson going to the Packers. I do not see Christian Watson as a first-round player. Now, what happens with Christian Watson is they reference the fact that he's in the 99th percentile in a lot of things when it comes to receivers at the combine, but it just doesn't show up on game tape. When you watch Christian Watson, if you watched him at North Dakota State, he wouldn't strike you as really an elite athlete. Now, maybe he had limited opportunities. I understand that. But that's another guy I think is really overrated. Another guy, I don't know how he's ranked 55. Look, most big boards that I've seen have not had Isaiah Spiller in the top 100. Isaiah Spiller is a third down back at best, and he's a mediocre third down back at best. I would not invest the top 100 pick in Isaiah Spiller, the running back from A&M. He's a third down running back. He's a pass-catching running back. That's about it. George Pickens, underrated. Trey McBride, underrated. Drake Jackson, I'm not seeing it. But he is 60th. I mean, it's not like he's that high. Tyler Smith is a really interesting developmental offensive tackle. Cameron Thomas, I like him. NPF, I think, underrated. I'm actually surprised David Bell is ranked this high, but David Bell, he'll be in my underrated videos, guys. Don't worry. Anyone else here? Isaiah Likely, I like. J. Sanders, I like a lot. A lot of these. So here's one. Wandale Robinson. Now, also Calvin Austin III. So Wandale Robinson and Calvin Austin III both profile as gadget players to me. Just gadget players. The issue with both of them is the height. So the story with Wandale is he lied about his height at Kentucky. He listed himself as 5'11". That's what Kentucky listed him as. He measured 5'8" at the combine. Calvin Austin was listed at 5'9". He measured at 5'8" at the combine. Unfortunately, when you're that small, it does limit you as a receiver. Like, the smallest receiver in the NFL that's a superstar is Tyree Kell, and he's 5'10". So that, and you think about how small Tyree Kell is and how fast he is. So that's a full 2 inches shorter. It becomes very tough for receivers, or, these short receivers, to box out a DB or to be physical. So Wandel Robinson and Calvin Austin, more so really both of them, but I know Wandel Robinson played a little bit of running back at Kentucky. They profile to be gadget players. I don't think they're necessarily overrated at 75 and 77th. Calvin Austin's actually moved up boards pretty significantly, but those are two guys that are interesting. A receiver that I don't see it at all from is Jalen Tolbert. I just do not see him doing anything in the NFL. He's ranked 82nd, but a team might spend a second-round pick on him. Like, the fact that Alec Pierce is below him is crazy after the combine that Alec Pierce had. Kyron Williams, not interested in spending a top 100 pick on him at all. Kirby Joseph, very underrated player, Abraham Lucas, very underrated offensive tackle. So that is the top 100 overall players. Anyone else here? No, we'll just do I can't believe Cole Strange is that low. That's crazy to me. So realistically, guys, the real players I want to hit home that are overrated, it's going to be Treylon Walker. It's going to be Charles Cross. Those two guys I think are very overrated. Jermaine Johnson, the pass rusher from Florida State. All of these three players should be first-round picks. Jordan Davis is interesting. The motor concerns. That's the big thing with him. And people are going to talk about the fact that he ran really well at the combine. I understand. It was unbelievable to see a big man run a 4.7 40. It's crazy. He's 350 pounds, whatever he is. It's unbelievable. The problem with him is it's not the straight line speed. It's the motor and the ability to not get tired after 2 plays. Alabama in the SEC championship game went up-tempo and completely took him out of the game by going up-tempo. So that's my concern with him. Do you want to spend a top 14 pick on a guy that's going to get tired that quickly? Can you improve his conditioning? Maybe they're able to improve it, but the most overrated quarterback would be Kenny Pickett. Excuse me. The most overrated receiver is Treylon Burks. Anyone else here just looking at Elam is a bit high for 30th, but it's not terribly high. Ritter, to me, is not a first-round prospect. 33 isn't terribly high for him, though, because he could be a decent quarterback. And then Kenneth Walker ahead of Breece Hall, I disagree with, but I think that will get corrected. Kyler Gordon, good slot corner. Sky Moore, there's another one. Sky Moore is, to me, overrated. John Mechie at 48. I have not seen John Mechie that high on anyone's board. 48th overall? That's a little steep. Quay Walker at 50. I wouldn't draft him. Christian Watson in the first round. Christian Watson should not be a first-round receiver. If you're the Packers, take someone like, it's risky, but I would take George Pickens. Isaiah Spiller at 55 is ridiculous. A lot of these things I think are going to self-correct themselves. Like when it's draft night in 20 days or however long, Isaiah Spiller is probably not going to be inside the top 100, honestly. Drake Jackson, I'm not seeing it. So, yeah, I'm just going back through this list and looking at some of the players, and that's pretty much it. So, the most overrated players that you're going to see drafted inside the top 10, Walker and Cross. Unless one of them slips, they're both very likely to be top 10 picks. You've got Walker most projected at number 2 overall, and I have seen him projected, according to a lot of mock drafts, that high. And then you've got Cross at number 9 overall right now. Once again, I think Trevor Penning is a better offensive tackle than Cross. Stingley Jr. at 10, it's interesting with him. It's the injury. It's the injury. He's being mocked to the Vikings at number 12. I don't have an issue with that. Jermaine Johnson I have issues with. He's a motor guy. He's a mid-second round player. Malik Willis, I think, probably should be the number 1 cornerback off the board. Personally, my number 1 quarterback in this draft is Carson Strong. It's a quarterback class that's divided a lot. There's Kenny Pickett, of course. Kenny Pickett, no. Kenny Pickett's going to be a bust, guys. Watch Kenny Pickett against Clemson. he doesn't do one thing that's elite. It's all just, it's like Alex Smith. It's Alex Smith 2.0, but he's even less athletic than Alex Smith was. He's even less athletic than Alex Smith. So those are just some of the players overall. Treylon Burks is another one. Corey Davis 2.0, but he's shorter than Corey Davis, so he's even worse. So guys, those are just my top overrated players for the 2022 NFL Draft. That is happening in about maybe 20, 23 days. I don't know exactly, but towards the end of April. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.